When I join a squadron, I'm under training ops, then I become day ops, and then I'm upgraded to night ops. Night ops involve two things: one, moonlight flying, and dark night flying. Only then a person becomes ops. Then he's made a 2 aircraft leader, 4 aircraft leader, then made a trainer. So there's a process of developing a guy is based on this they plan. And we do plan exercises, deployment out. We do plan landing on highways. Suppose airfield is hit and damaged. Land on a highway, refuel and go. Those type of things are practiced, cater for an emergency.
Welcome to the My First Job podcast, episode 34. Today, we'll find out what a career in the Indian Air Force is about. He's a fighter pilot with over 3,000 hours of flying experience. He tests new aircraft and works as an instructor and examiner for the Indian Air Force. He has flown 24 different types of aircraft, including fighters, transport, helicopters, and gliders. Wing Commander Katie Sebastian, retired, is an alumnus of National Defence Academy, a graduate of the Advanced Staff College of the Royal Air Force at Bracknell in the UK, and a postgraduate in Strategic Studies from Chennai University. He controlled the Air Force operations of the war at Kargil and carried out an impact analysis of IAF's operations in the theatre of the war. As director of the Su-30 MKI aircraft, he managed the induction of the Sukhoi MKI aircraft right from the evaluation. He continues to be a part of DRDO evaluating UAVs and simulators. This conversation will cover various facets of what a career in the Air Force is about. My name is Venugopal Nair, and I head an agency called Ideascape, which is into advertising, branding, and design. In terms of your own personal journey, your own career, what has it been like?
I was in Tezpur in Assam, Hashimara in Bengal. Then I went to become an instructor at Tambaram, taught people for a year. I went back as an instructor in flying instructor school where we teach people to become instructors. Then I decided to do a test pilot course in Bangalore. After doing that, went to Russia for MiG-29 training, came back, did my staff course abroad. I've been an Air Force examiner in Aircrew Examining Board, commanded a MiG-29 squadron, then came to Delhi to induct the Sukhoi 30. So I went to Russia, did some flying with a very famous Russian test pilot called Viktor Pugachov. So we inducted the Sukhoi. Presently, we have about 270 of them.
You're saying as a career?
As a career, it's a good life to be in. We have a family relationship. Even though I've been out of the Air Force now almost 20 years, I have excellent relations with people. You just got to say, you're from so-and-so squadron, and that camaraderie is very, very good.
No, and it's amazing how the camaraderie stays even after you leave. Like you said, it's almost as if it's a network for life.
I do go to my squadron to visit once a year. Presently, they are in Srinagar. And the spirit is good. It continues. Initially, they train you to land and take off, maybe about 5 to 10 trips. After that, they increase the severity of the exercise to do air-to-ground firing. Stay with an aircraft, carry out a tail chase just to check your skills. And those, plus go from one place to another. Those days, we had no GPS. We had to mark a map, and that is how you go through. And when you go through this, your body undergoes a lot of stress. Like when they talk a parameter called G, we are presently under 1 gravity. In a hot turn, I can go up to 9 gravity. 9 gravity means 9 times of weight. My weight increases if I were to weigh on a weighing machine. So those got certain physiological effects, but over a period of time, one gets used to it. And all aircraft is on an ejection seat. So in case things really go bad, we can pull the handle and get out of the aircraft.
This is interesting. So you're actually taught to stay on the tail of a certain aircraft for a fairly long time. And the GPS part, which is how do you then map? Let's say you're getting from one place to another. When you map it, could you just take us through that?
What happens, we have maps of India. Unfortunately, there were 1920 surveys, but general airfields are the same. And we draw a line from one place to another. We know the approximate speed it travels in. Normally, it's about 4 kilometers a second. And we are in radio communication when you come within 200 kilometers of that base. And thereafter, it guides you into that place.
Having been a fighter pilot and flown for over 3,000 hours, And you've said you've tried 24 different kinds of aircraft, everything from transport to gliders to the entire thing. How do you make your assessment of what is the what are the differences from one aircraft to the other?
Oh, there are significant differences if you fly a Western aircraft to a Russian aircraft. The concepts are different. So when I change from one aircraft to Russian aircraft, I need to undergo thorough training again from basics so that you get used to their instrumentation. The weaponry is different. The avionics are different. That training we have to undergo. We do a ground training and then do this.
Okay. And in each of these cases, acclimatization, mentally, what kind of, are your senses on high alert? What is it that happens when you get into something like this? I'm going a little deep into it because these are questions that I think we don't get to ask
Hmm.
fighter pilots when they're in the normal course of
The most critical is an engine failure while you're on the takeoff run to
Right.
decide whether to continue or abandon the takeoff. Besides that, once I have height, I have enough time to recognize an emergency, take a remedial action, try it up to we come to a height of 6,000 feet. At 6,000 feet, the decision is taken whether to land back without an engine or to leave the aircraft. Other major emergencies are fire in the aircraft, which can spread to the cockpit. So those critical emergencies, one has to take a call. Most of our people are very comfortable in that cockpit because it's air conditioned. It has got ejection seat. So most of them delay the decision to leave the aircraft. And a pilot is an expensive guy. By the time he gets trained into a fighter aircraft, the nation spends about close to 45 to 50 crores on him.
Wow. Okay. That's significant, but I think the caliber of people. So, what are the basics apart from great eyesight? I'm sure it reflexes. What are some of the other things? There are things that you know only once you begin because you've trained so many pilots over these years. So, what is it that you're looking for?
First thing they look for in a person is motor skill. There are people, if you see you walk, their hand goes forward along with the right leg. So those people find it difficult to coordinate. Then, secondly, attitude. A very important parameter because it's a lot of hard work involved. You need to learn the checks, procedures, because they're not modern aircraft. So we weed out people during training, saying he's not fit to be a pilot, and we send them back after some time. And there are other people who feel sick while flying, and it's called air sickness. Give them some tablets and try to continue. They may be good flyers, but they're unable to continue. So such people are weeded out in due course.
Okay. And when you said 9G is the kind of pressure that you feel there in certain situations,
Hmm.
how does one prepare for something like that? How does one, okay, you have,
We wear what is called an anti-gravity suit, where it's got air thing in the stomach and the thighs and the shin portion. It gets inflated, preventing blood from top of the body coming down. 15 seconds later, the person undergoing 9G will initially gray out and then black out. Moment the G is relaxed, it comes back to normal. So accidents can do happen if one is not careful about it.
okay, I mean, there's so much, and all of this is happening in split seconds, if not the same. The point at which an aircraft takes a turn, I've seen these things where they spin and they seem to spin lazily. What exactly is that maneuver called? How is it? How does it happen, and why is it done?
Spin is a maneuver we normally teach to cadets so that if the aircraft gets into it, how to get out. Now, spin is an uncontrolled maneuver. He has exceeded, all aircrafts do what is called a stall at a certain angle. Beyond they can get into a spin. So one needs to recognize the spin and get out of it. So we teach him. And the guys who are coming down, he has no control on it, except that few controls can move till get the aircraft into a dive, pick up speed and come out. So there's a lower speed limit one must not violate while flying that.
Do you remember any particular flight or any particular this thing during those training days where you had to make a split second decision? And
There are many. Once I was flying a small aircraft in near Chennai. As we came into land, one cylinder cracked. So my choice was to land on the runway, land on the side. We decided to land on the side. We're going to the fence. The wheels broke and we sat down, but both of us are not hurt in that, came out of it. These things do happen. And in a fighter aircraft, there's not been very many incidents, but there have been occasions when we have gone across the border deliberately to see the reaction time of the enemy. But that's a control maneuver from the person on the ground. So he knows when somebody is coming up with those type of situations. Otherwise, there's not been any major emergency that I have encountered.
So then you actually did a post graduation in strategic studies from Chennai. What was that about?
You know what? Once I do, there's an exam we appear for staff college. The staff college is located in Wellington in Ooty. If you top the exam, they send you to UK. So I went to UK for a year. Once the exam gets over, I can appear for a master's degree at Madras University in military history and strategic studies. So I tried a thesis which I did. I was interviewed by the Madras University professors. I thought they were knowledgeable. I found them to be very knowledgeable. And after that, I got this MSc from Madras University.
So the strategic studies is basically about the strategies used in warfare. Is it?
It's essentially warfare. Strategy we use, even though as a force, we are a tactical force and strategic. It's only the Americans and the Russians who are really strategic in their thinking.
Okay, over times of war, things change practically from decade to decade. And now, in the latest Russian and Ukraine war itself, drones seem to be playing a huge part, which was not there, let's say, 20 years ago. Do you think that this is going to have a long term impact on how wars are conducted?
It will have. The drone's present problem is it's got very short range communication. So you can have 10 drones in a war, but there's one manned guy behind to communicate and direct them. So the manned guys will probably remain for some more time before maybe change out completely to a drone unless the satellite communications, the satellite communications are very weak, easy to jam them. So if in case anybody goes to Russia, you'll find the entire country's got small jammers around to make sure American missiles don't hit precisely. Second is battery. The battery gets weakened very rapidly in a drone. For example, in Kargil, there are no drones. We had no drones in Kargil war. So I had to put a guy in a two-seater cockpit. He was carrying a handy cam to take pictures. I guess slowly those deficiencies are being removed by the government.
Why don't you tell us more about what Kargil was like? You led the entire effort, and I'm sure there's a lot of people. What is it like being in that zone?
Actually, the war took place in Indian zone and not in the Pakistani side. Fortunately for us, the snow melted 1 month early. The road that connects Srinagar to Leh opens only from June to October. And during these 3 months, we got to transfer the entire rations, ammunition, arms on this road via Zojila, Kargil Pass to Leh. Pakistanis are already there on those hilltops. They were guiding the artillery fire using satellite phones. Luckily for us, the snow melted early. So when we went in, we found that the villages, there was nobody in the village and their houses were already stocked up. And the fields were not made ready for cultivation. You only have one crop a year. Probably that set the ball rolling. And we are very thinly spread out there, only one brigade there. And during the war, they moved in 2 mountain divisions, which is 6 brigades. Now they are permanently placed there. Pakistan's aim was to to capture Siachen. They had gone and ordered 50,000 snow boots from Europe. When our guys went to buy, there was no stock available. They should actually set alarm bells ringing. I think we're slow in analyzing this. And 50,000 snow boots means he was planning to put a division of troops into Siachen to get Siachen out of our hands.
One tends to think of war as weapons and ammunition. And here you say that one part of the supply chain, which is like the boots not being available, can influence the course of war as well as the weather conditions.
The weather is okay from June to October. After that, the road is completely closed.
So then, how did you manage to take over the Kargil?
Now, once the war started, they moved in the one more mountain division into Kargil. And not Kargil, Dras, etc. Once our divisions move up, see, the Indian Army is quite a potent system. It takes time to move. It takes 35 days to move people above 15,000 feet. They go to acclimatize. That's a delay that's happened. And once they move in, they even thought we might move into Pak-occupied Kashmir and occupy that area. But our Prime Minister is very clear, you will not cross the border. He told Air Force, Army, you stay within us, get them out, take your time. That way, hats off to Atal Bihari Vajpayee, a fantastic prime minister in that. Clear in his thinking. And that was we lost a lot of people. They also lost a lot of people in the bargain. Uh, but it was something we could have avoided if we were a little more alert.
Okay. I guess this is the part about war when, armies are facing off against each other all the time. And there are zones which are volatile.
Hmm.
Okay. How is it that with so many areas to defend now, how is it that you managed to keep track? Obviously, technology has got to be one part of it. But are wars usually fought in the mine?
No, we have patrols that go into the areas and then come and report. That's how we get information. Once the patrols go, then we can ask the PMO to send photo aircraft. We also photo aircraft to see what has happened. So that way, information is gathered, and I'm sure allies will be helping us in. I'm sure US keeps a constant track of what's happening. We do get information on that, but to move things is difficult, like tanks and artillery guns into the hills. That is
So that becomes yeah. Sorry, I
most of, the, most of the items, logistic items, the army moves on mules in the hill. But we don't have enough airfields there. Now we are building up airfields. And we do airdrop them. Airdrop is not very precise. You lose 30-40% you lose into the valley we can't pick up. That is how they sustain.
Okay. And then it's a constant, I guess, like you said, how does the coordination happen then between, let's say, the on ground, the infantry that is there, as well as obviously this theater is being monitored at several the things. So these decisions are made and then execution really happens on the ground, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. In fact, a portion of our force will be under the army during the war. We are controlled by the general. He decides which target to be attacked. In fact, an incident where a brigadier was there, a friend of mine, he asked for air support. So I asked the general what to do. He said, nobody will ask you directly. They have to come through me. So it is quite centralized from that point of view.
Okay. I guess that's the reason why there is such a unified chain of command, so that there isn't any deviation from an objective.
Now, it has to be controlled at top level. It can't be go down to
Be controlled at the
Yeah.
yeah, it can't be, because otherwise it can just get completely it can go completely haywire.
One other thing is a Sukhoi 30 today can take off from Pune, go to Hormuz, straight to Hormuz, just the entrance of Persian Gulf, orbit for 2 hours and come back refueling. He's got such an ability. Take off from Jamnagar, go to Andaman Nicobar Islands, come back to Pune. These aircraft cannot be under one person. It has been a centralized person. And they're also wired for carrying nuclear bombs. And that decision cannot be taken by a local commander. It has to come from the political level.
Right. So when it was in Kargil, when did you know that things were sort of going to get resolved and that you had the upper hand?
According to what I heard, I have no proof. The Chinese intelligence told Nawaz Sharif that Indians have already loaded their nuclear weapons on aircraft. It happened on 19th of June. So he ran to Clinton and told him save them. So Clinton, I think, told us stop the war and told those guys to withdraw, and they withdrew from there. The international things that work in the system.
Yeah.
We got back all.
You got back all the?
We got back all the land. But, in 1986, the army had put up a proposal to make an alternate route to Kargil, which is not borne by weather. It was rejected, saying that it is not financially viable. It was some 400, 800 crores then. Maybe India didn't have money. Today, we spend 4,000 crores a year to maintain them there. Wow. Now, I believe steps are being taken for an alternate road.
Right. But, I guess that's the essential dilemma of peace and wartime spending.
Yeah.
There is a point at which you think that, no, it is not necessary, and there are always priorities in terms of what needs to be spent. And then, so in your mind, I heard Costa Rica doesn't have an army. I read this somewhere saying that their entire this thing is managed by their defense is managed by. How does such a situation come into being?
Oh, that means somebody is offering him saying you are under our protection. Like Japanese progressed because of America saying your defense is our responsibility. Then you can focus the entire thing on the economy. Not possible otherwise.
Yeah, it isn't possible. Like you said, unless you have protection or you've outsourced the protection or there is someone who looks after the entire thing. And the US, like you said, has been very, very strong in ensuring that, their station in Japan is pretty well manned and accessible.
Yeah. So in a real situation, one has to manage oneself. So we need a force of our own.
Okay. I mean, all of these are such complex decisions with such ramifications right down the line. And like you said, it's almost like 20 years ahead or 30 years ahead. There are certain things which I do today.
That is why both the armed forces and the diplomats need to work hand in glove. Because the first people who negotiate are the diplomats.
Okay. Okay.
Right? What's happening?
Like this. Ah, okay. Okay. And do you believe ultimately that people are more peace loving, or is it governments that ultimately, there is the real politic in the world as to how you protect yourself. And if you're unprotected, people will take advantage of that.
One. And also our economic interests will suffer. Like you see in Pakistan, if you see, all the guys are Punjabis. So both the Sindhis, Baluchis don't like them. They control the show. So people, I was with a Pakistani couple in England for a year doing a course. They're nice people. One of the nicest, I know he's nice, clear thinking guys, but unfortunately, the system is different. Unless we are an enemy, they don't survive. But
How?
people,
Okay. I didn't understand that. How do you?
no, what for the Pakistanis remain united, those four regions, they need a common enemy, which is India. When they come to know that we are actually far not as bad as they project ourselves to be, probably things will change. The Russians are very good people.
It's so strange that at an individual level you get along so perfectly well with, like you said, a Pakistani or a Russian or an American. But when it comes to a war, we tend to put people into certain brackets and categories, and then that's
That's
the whole thing.
we had a saying in Kargil: if a Pakistani sees a Shia and an Indian, he will kill the Shia first and then the Indian. There is animosity between them. When they shell the Kargil, in Kargil, they shelled more than Dras and Pandras. Dras and Pandras are Sunni Muslims, Kargil are Shias. So they didn't mind Shias getting killed. So these equations play a predominant role in their decisions.
Okay. And this doesn't change, or you're saying that this is so deep rooted that it's not easy to change.
Oh, Shia Sunni is quite deep rooted. And then another anecdote in which, we had evacuated a German woman who had come to Kargil to get a pure Aryan child. There are Aryan tribes in the Himalayas who marry into the family to keep their blood pure. And she entered the country, went into Kargil without a permit.
My goodness.
So these things do happen.
I mean, but that's like going a really long way to maintain a bloodline.
Yeah. And the other things like, Bofors gun had a problem. So they canceled the deal. But that's one of the best guns to have. We had problem because we didn't have ammunition. So it was procured an emergency, paying $4,000 round, and we fired 6 lakh shells there. That's a huge drain on the country's economy, no?
So then when you looked at examining various aircraft and, talk to all of them, what are the things that go through it? Obviously, the features and the various things, but how are these decisions made?
Most of our civilian community think the speed of the aircraft is criteria to establish its capability. Speed is the last criteria. Ability to accelerate may be a criteria. They talk of Mark 2, Mark 3, and all, it has actually no meaning. So we look at weapon carrying ability. How long can it fly? Those are the type of parameters and also life cycle cost. The Western aircraft life cycle cost is much lower compared to Russia. By the time a Russian engine is overhauled at 400 hours, most of its parts are replaced, which is a huge cost to us, even though initial cost is very low. And the Rafale and the aircraft phenomenally expensive. It is not today. Next 25 years, we're going to pay.
Yeah, but then exactly like you said, there are so many factors that come, and these are very, very complex decision processes, right?
Yeah. And decision process eventually go to the government, but we do perfect analysis of what are the capabilities of the aircraft, how it's compatible with our industry is one thing we look at. Are we able to produce some of the parts, etc., which is important because how do you replace them?
Okay. Okay. So all it means is that ultimately you have to develop your own capabilities and know what is it. You can rely on others to supply stuff. But at the end of the day, you got to know.
If you got to develop ourselves, fortunately, our defense research organizations, they're not accountable. They don't deliver a thing on time. They don't lose their job. That is not true in a private company. I'm happy that Mahindras and Tatas are coming. Things will move better.
Okay. Oh, that's good. That's good to know that, this kind. So, I mean, how is it then that the Army, Air Force, and Navy, which is so disciplined, the accountability as far as they're concerned is it's almost built in. It's like, okay, I'll do it. But then the allied organizations, why do you think that has not happened?
Because whether they develop something or not after they're promising, if they don't do, nothing happens to him. He will still get his promotion. He will still get his salary.
Okay. Okay. So then that becomes a wow. This is so many layers of accountability that have to be maintained.
I don't blame them also because HL is controlled by a joint secretary sitting in Delhi. He has no clue what HL does. See, having said that, both DRDO and HL has an inherent capability. I don't believe it's harnessed in a coherent fashion to get it done. The top level, if they all retire today, I think we perform better. In we have talented youngsters in these organizations.
You have seen over your years of flying the aircraft change. What has been some of the high points of change that you've noticed in the fighter aircraft?
We have gone electronically superior. If you fly a Mirage 2000, when you come into land, even if you can't see the runway, on your head-up display, it'll show you an artificial runway and a line to follow. If you follow that, you will land up on the runway. Those type of things were not there earlier. Landing is easier. Weapon delivery is another thing. Previously, you had a gyro sight. It was purely your judgment to drop the weapon. Here, the mission computer tells you when to drop, and it'll go precisely where it's supposed to go. Those changes have happened.
But in terms of actually flying them, you think the effort has reduced?
Actually, flying them, the flying quantity has not reduced, but duration has increased. Like a MiG-21, I used to fly a duration of 30-35 minutes. On a Sukhoi 30, you can fly for 10 hours. So that is now creating physiological problem of the pilot. Nobody's used to sitting in one place for 10 hours. And they do take a tablet to make sure you don't feel any discomfort and come back.
Wow. 10 hours in one position, literally. I mean, there is no way that you can sort of.
You have a co-passenger you can speak to, that's all. And normally we don't speak on the radio because you get picked up by a listening radar. There is somebody approaching.
There's this thing about the Formula One racer saying that they do that 40-50, and by the time they've gone past that on the ground, they've almost lost. I read this that they lose about 3 to 4 kilos during the course of the race because of the effort involved or because of the concentration. I think it's sweat because of the amount of this
water. But one race may not be. But I used to do low-level aerobatics on a MiG-29. In 5 days practice, I used to lose 2.5 kilos of weight because it is 7 minutes of concentrated flying. So that concentration, he will lose, but probably over a period of time, he will lose that weight. Essentially, water going away and the stress involved.
How would you work these routines out on the MiG-29? How were they planned? And
it is planned by the second in command in this thing based on what should be my operational status. When I join a squadron, I'm under training ops. Then I become day ops, and then I'm upgraded to night ops. Night ops involve two things. One, moonlight flying and dark night flying. So only then a person becomes ops. Then he's made a 2 aircraft leader, 4 aircraft leader, then made a trainer. So there's a process of developing a guy is based on this they plan. And we do plan exercises, deployment out. We do plan landing on highways. Suppose the airfield is hit and damaged. Land on a highway, refuel and go. Those type of things are practiced, cater for an emergency.
Okay. Wow. So I like the way that it is so systematic and methodical in terms of when you mention it, it's so rational. But the fact that it's, day ops, night ops, and then
not systematic, I don't think I would have been here to tell the story to you.
Yeah, that's
It's over a period of time.
yeah. It's evolved over a period of time. Yeah. And what was your favorite flying time? Was it night or was it day? You can get to see a lot more. What is it that you? I mean, in the normal case,
Early morning, before 9 o'clock, there are no birds. We used to low flying. And that is a very interesting phase of flying. Otherwise, I would actually prefer moon night flying, moonlight. When there is full moon or half moon, you can see a lot of things on the ground. But dark night, you see nothing. And there are people who fly inverted because on a dark night, you see more stars in the sky than lights on the ground. So they think that sky is the ground. There have been instances of people flying inverted.
and how low would your low flying be?
Normally, lowest will be 30 meters, 100 feet. But only problem is if there are,
Just 100 feet above the ground. Wow.
there are high tension cables, one has to be careful looking out for them.
Wow. I mean, I can't even begin to.
Ground moves very fast because 4 seconds a kilometer is pretty fast.
Right. Right.
And it's
4 seconds, 1 kilometer.
nobody's allowed to go supersonic on the ground. If I go supersonic, all the window panes will shatter because of shock wave.
Okay. Okay. No, but then is there this whole attitude, like you said, okay, you look at motor skills and then you look at attitude. Is there a willingness to take risks in fighter pilots, or is it something that you realize only after you begin?
Basically, taking risks with the machine is not encouraged. For example, if there is a problem with the aircraft, we insist that it comes back or land at the nearest place. However, if you're with bombs in the enemy territory and you've got some bombs left, you see another target, you're at liberty to go and drop it on them and come back. That much of freedom exists.
A person who's looking for a career in the Air Force, what are the things that they should keep in mind?
First and foremost, they undergo a psychological test. They check a person's attitude. And to give you an example, there is one of my friend's brother went for an interview. Psychologist asked him, "You're coming in a train and you find a lady passenger sick. You have to take her to the hospital or you got to reach the interview on time. What will you do?" He said, "I'll reach the interview on time." They rejected him. They're saying, humanitarian. So they analyze you psychologically your trait before the psychology clears you. And they don't want pacifists. People, one has to be a little aggressive. In fact, there is a move in the Air Force to get a squadron commander as low as 30 to 34 years of age. Because at that age, he will take a little more risk than a person who's 40, 45.
Okay. Okay. So, what are the other things that you think are important? Attitude, yes. Psychological.
And ability to interact with people, because when you fly in a formation of 4 aircraft, all people matter to you. Your life depends on the other 4. So we tend to be a little more social with people, interact at the family level. So we have actually a very good social life in the service.
Right. Right. And that's exactly what builds the bonds as well, right? Because you have shared experiences and you have a whole lot of the thing which comes in. I think these are the things that don't seem to come out, because in the normal ads that I see for recruitment to the armed forces, they talk of service to the nation and things like that. But I think these are far bigger draws, because in terms of the kind of relationships you can build.
And helping people is another great thing. Suppose somebody rings me up and says, "I need help." We don't hesitate to go and help them. That attitude gets built up.
Right. That's almost, that's like second nature. So, yeah. So, do you think that it's advisable for, in some of the countries which are smaller or which have, which are living in a situation where there is danger, they mandate there is a certain amount of armed, uh, experience in the armed force? Do you think that will be good, or you think people have to come in because they believe in it?
In a country like India, conscription is not very good because we can't afford it. We'll have an army of probably 2-3 crores of people. The whole world will get a little concerned about it. So, conscription is good in a small country. Like, whatever people might say about Chinese is a conscript army. They are not as efficient as a regular army. So, in smaller countries, I think conscription is a necessity more than anything else.
Right, right. And they have to maintain it because, like you said, the group of people that they can draw on is small, and the area which they have to defend may be smaller. But again, proportionately, you have to have the same numbers available to.
Numbers and numbers will make a difference.
Yeah, numbers don't make a difference. Okay.
And numbers make a difference. Like in the British divided our forces into Mahars, Marathas. When I'm in a Maratha regiment, if something happens to my friend, I will fight more fiercely than otherwise. So this is a fundamental flaw we retired people feel there is about the Agnipath scheme because they're coming 4 years and going. I, I had a rule in my squadron: a fresher who comes in after full training is not allowed to touch the aircraft for 18 months till he's trained further by me because he can fire a missile on the ground by putting on some switch. So one has to be careful with them. Agnipath guys in the Air Force are not getting into technical stream because a lot of things can happen. Somebody can move a switch and the undercarriage can sit down while taking off. So in technical stream, a best technician is between 8 to 12 years of service. We need somebody with more continuity.
Okay. That's an amazing insight because I these are things that from the outside you only read of in media, but you're giving the situation on the ground and what really is necessary. And
The army, has, the army has a tradition where when a second lieutenant officer joins, he's made to stay with the men. After 3 months, he goes to the JCO and comes. I was marching with a platoon of troops with a junior commissioned officer and a second lieutenant. The second lieutenant makes so many mistakes. I was seen, I told him, you would listen to the JCO. He's got far more experience than you. That is how he got out of a situation. He can't replace experience.
Right. I mean, that's so true. But again, I don't think it's in my this thing to try and understand why some of these decisions were taken or what it this thing. So I think what I've learned is very clearly attitude defines who you are and how it this thing.
And hard work helps, huh?
Right.
Hard work helps in everything.
Right.
And one more thing, as you know, in the Air Force, armed forces is if he's got additional skills like music, playing instruments, it actually helps to bond better.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, these are the things. And that's, I think, the big mistake that people make. They somehow think that it's a regimented life, but there is so much more scope of getting to know people better. And especially when you're in a place which is remote, then the people you're with are the ones you have to, make really get along well with. And it helps also.
We have no caste system in the armed forces. I didn't even know who a Dalit was. We treat everybody same.
Yeah. And ultimately, when it comes to saving a life or and this thing, it really doesn't matter what the it shouldn't matter at any other point as well. But I suppose in the army, all the more it comes to the same. Okay. In your mind, what is the uh, way in which people who are interested, what should they look at when they're trying to get into the services? Is it you obviously you are able to academically go into the thing, but is it physical as well as academic? What is the kind
The
of
physical is for the physical is not much except that you should remain healthy. However, if they find something wrong internally or with the eyes, etc., they reject.
Right.
But there are organizations in big cities where they do a pre-medical check and tells you whether you have any problem. But academics in today's world is I don't think can avoid. Because I'm one of those who firmly believe armed forces guys after 7-8 years must send to university, study and come back. It will help. You interacting with people. The Americans do that.
Yeah, yeah. And in terms of the thing, what are some of the things in the strategic sessions that you remember, or academics going to Britain and learning from there? Some of the experiences from there. What are the ones you recall?
When we started the course, our commandant said, there is no assessment in this course, all of you have passed. But we will take you to all organizations where learn how they affect defense. So we met union leaders, met bank leaders, went down into your mine. He said all of them matter to you in due course of time. So expose you to a wider range of units or organizations that affect you, which is
Okay.
in the armed forces, we are not taught.
Okay. Okay. How exactly? I'm sorry. It's new to me. How is this connection maintained?
For example, if the Barclays Bank is doing bad, he says the economy is going bad, government won't release money for you to buy arms. That's one part they do. Okay. And which is right. So the union leader came and said they made $500 million profit. They have not given us bonus. So the bank chairman comes and says, it's true, I made 500 million. My investment is 15 billion. I'm not even 8.3%. I can't give them money. It's a different point of view. It's good to learn those things, no? And other thing to learn, they found a cost analysis and found that running the four Phantom aircraft was not beneficial. They closed the unit in 3 months. We don't do that. We have MiG-21s flying, which were given to us for 25 years and 1,800 hours. They cross 40 years and 2,500 hours.
Okay. Okay.
That's why a lot of accidents happen on that machine. Otherwise, let me tell you, the machines are pretty safe to fly.
Right. Right. No, this has been an education beyond measure because you've spoken when you started out. You said once you learn to the controls in an aircraft, it's almost as easy as driving a car. That is not something that I'll easily forget.
The Russians tell you, put all switches on the right panel fully forward. You're ready to start.
But in terms of, did you ever feel nervous during those first few flights? Was there a certain sense of
There is because you're not sure what will happen to you when he's doing a spin. But then a period of time, get used to it. Another nervous time was when I was flying in Russia and a MiG-29 at minus 30. As you lift off, you only see white. Everybody's covered with snow. So if I have to eject, I don't know they'll ever find me in that snow. Otherwise, things are okay. And you can adapt to a situation pretty rapidly. It's not difficult.
Yeah.
Because the training is set and tried out.
right? No, I think what you said now, for example, if you're flying somewhere in the desert in the Middle East, it's a sea of brown. Or, anywhere in Rajasthan, if you're the same. The sea of white is again, like you said, in Kerala, it's a sea of green. Because suddenly you're heading for the coconut tops and it's like it's a very different, because again, when you
can't see. Trivandrum Airfield, you can't see from top. It's full of coconut trees.
Okay, thank you. We've come to the end of 1 hour. I really didn't know it go by. Thank you so much for having taken the time. So what is it that you would like to close out and tell anyone who's watching, in terms of
First, you want to tell them Indian Air Force is a very good life to be in. It is challenging because you need to learn new skills, but it is not a bad life. And little hard work. And once you're medically fit, once you join the system ensures it make you undergo physical training, etc. That you can ensure. But otherwise, a very good life. Good people you meet from across the country in every base that you.
No, and that itself should be reason. Like you said, the social circle is so wide, and just the connection that you are with a certain regiment or with a certain force is enough to get you in.
The whole country. See the whole country from the east to west, north to south.
Thank you very much for having taken the time. It's been a pleasure. And thank you for all that you've done and for all that the armed forces continue to do for us in the retraining. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye.
That was a session with a fighter pilot, which was far more exciting rather than just describing what being in the Air Force was like. I think he was frank. He was very clear about what he wanted. And anyone watching the show will get an idea of what it means to have a career in the Air Force. Next week, another services veteran. We'll get a person from the Navy. Do tune in then. Thank you very much for watching.